there are a list of number of issues that workers, Nigerians are passing through: fuel scarcity, cash, food prices are skyrocketing, fares are going up, electricity is going up. In fact, everything, things are just happening all at once here for Nigerians. And after the meeting, the NLC, in fact, the organized labor, insisted on 615,000 naira as a living wage. Now, I know yesterday I had a conversation with my analyst concerning the ideal amount of that should be given to workers as a minimum wage, and he said at least 200,000 naira. And we had arguments on if there's going to be an implicating inflation or not. Now the organized labor is asking for 615,000 naira. Let's get your thoughts on that before we go into the specifics.
Well, first of all, remember, or you can recall my views when it comes to the issue of minimum wage. When Mr. President said he wants to give Nigerian workers, he did not call it minimum wage. Remember what he called it? Living wage. And I said to myself, this statement is just to make the labor feel good, because the labor itself, like I always said, have disappointed me. Maybe my standard is too high, I don't know. You cannot be talking about palliatives, you cannot be talking about salary, a wage increase, when in actual fact there is a greater fundamental problem. If you don't address the root cause of a thing, forget it. Everything you do will be palliative, and at a point will become so destructive that anybody that's able to survive and show is a bit independent from society will become object of attack by hoodlums, or family will have to come and depend on you, which you are not to meet up. So what am I trying to say? Mr. President said he's going to give living wage. Looking at the condition of Nigeria, what would be living wage? Living wage will be, you have used all the yardstick to calculate transport, feeding for a family of 4 or a family of 5, at least officially. I remember in Babangada's time he said every family should have about 3 children or so. That was the limit. So if you have a father, mother,
Is that still in use?
whoever even used it even then. So you're looking at, maybe you have an assistant at home, maybe 6 members. How much will each of them eat breakfast? You are supposed to have lunch officially. You are supposed to have dinner officially. Snacks for the children that go to school. You calculate all those things, you'll be able to have what you can call living wage, which will still be minimum. That living wage is to be minimum. If Mr. President and his handlers had done the homework, he would never have made that statement. I faulted that statement from day one. Why do you make this statement? You are not doing on campaigns. The only way people do campaign that politicians are ready to lie, and because a number of citizens are gullible, they will swallow the lies, and they are the victims, and they will still worship their tormentors. That statement was like doing campaign. You want to impress so that they vote for you. He was already president. So talking about living wage was a suicide mission, because I knew he would never be able to meet it, even by his own calculation. Labour here has no input, has no idea of what's wrong with Nigeria. What's wrong with Nigeria? What's wrong with Nigeria is not the minimum wage for workers. It's the economy that had collapsed under the previous government, that some people saw the president as a deity. And their deity led them to the precipice, and so many have dropped off the precipice. As I speak with you, you and I, and every other person hearing me, are survivors of a calamity of monumental proportion. We are survivors. There are some person that said they should be given certificate of survival after Buhari's administration. Yeah, it was like a joke, but it's real. We should be certified. It should be even a national honor that we survived that administration. But because politics is, I don't know how to define it, people still stood by him, though it was a divided house. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a candidate was campaigning on his own. He was campaigning against the government that didn't know what to do, they didn't know how to think, they didn't know how to do, that he would know how to do. But here we are, a continuation, even worse, because when the Buhari administration wanted to increase the, talked about wage increase, honestly speaking, I used to pray with tears in my eyes, say, God, don't allow this man to attempt this. The economy will collapse completely. Because they wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't. They never knew what to do, except the kind of manipulations and the tales which has been put on one man called Emefiele, who made himself a voluntary slave. Don't cry for him. He made a choice. And he's comfortable because you don't know what understanding they have had. Now, he wanted to remove the fuel subsidy. I prayed privately and I talked on air everywhere. I said, God, don't allow him to attempt that. He will plunge his country into a mess. And thank God he didn't do it. He said he has paid subsidy up to June. But as Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu came up, and according to him, he said a strange spirit possessed him. He said that in France. A spirit possessed him on the platform, and he made that announcement. And somebody said that must have been an evil spirit, because you cannot make such an announcement without plans. Juxtapose that strange courage with wage increase. Which one should have required critical thinking on the committee? Sharon, tell me. Between salary increase with over 1 billion to a 37-man committee to discuss how much salary is to be minimum wage. It was almost 2 billion before he asked them to review it, and they said, okay, I approve this one. Say one or whatever, as start with this. To determine wage increase, absolutely unpardonable. But what's the outcome? Is it not over a month? The wage increase was to start in April. The committee cannot submit report. The 1 billion naira committee cannot submit a report. Tripartite committee. They came to Akwa Ibom here. I was too busy to go. I said I don't want to waste my time going there. And trust politicians. On the eve of May Day, federal government announced wage increase of 20.
Consolidated.
Whatever it is called, leave those ones because it's irrelevant. A worker is a worker. So if you're not capturing all workers, that means we are back beyond the starting point. So 25 to 35%, maybe 25% for the higher class and 35% for the lower class. But there was no mention of minimum wage. So it wasn't minimum wage.
No, it wasn't.
Good. So if you could celebrate May Day, the first May Day in the life of this administration, and you could not announce minimum wage and set up a multi-billion, or let me call it multi, $1 billion naira committee, you cannot resolve that. There's something wrong with us. Something wrong with us.
So you're saying that you're not impressed with the tripartite committee? Their actions have been.
Nobody should be impressed. The committee has failed in the first place. One, it should be disbanded immediately. It should be disbanded. It's an embarrassment. In fact, if they have not been paid their sitting allowance, no, they should not be paid again. That is one. Two, the key issue is not even what Labour is saying, because Labour cannot talk about 615,000 naira as minimum wage, when they know that even a member of that committee, one of the governors who is a member of the tripartite committee that they are all in, could not pay 30,000 minimum wage. So it's a reality show, it's a skit, which I'm sure some of our skit makers are going to make millions of naira from just acting that. You don't add anything. Just act what is going on between government and Labour and the tripartite committee. View Nigeria, the same suffering Nigerians and workers will go there and laugh. What is the solution? What's the way forward? The way forward is the fact that the problem with the country is the economy. We have to look for the minimum standard of what economy we should operate. We've lost everything. Our oil is being given ahead. We collect the money and then we'll give you oil in the next 20 years or more. just give us money to survive now. And we are doing manipulations, propaganda on how strong the Naira is. Whereas, even the global community that is, what do you call it, World Bank and that has been telling us, kill yourself, remove fuel subsidy, remove subsidy on energy, don't give any subsidy. Whereas in their country, they're enjoying subsidy. But in Nigeria, with the kind of leadership that we have, they're saying remove. You cannot do that. You want to attract international investment, you have to remove so that the investors will come. When they come, their money will be huge enough for do. And we keep listening, we keep doing it. So, until we have a reformer as a leader, we will never come out of this quagmire. We don't have a reformer on the saddle, but we can make one out of him. How? Citizens' engagement. If you go to Ibom Plaza, that is the highest point where you have newspaper stands, and you see people who may likely just eat once a day, but they want to stay current. They go there. That is their people's parliament. You hear the conversation. I'm telling you, the ideas that are shared at Ibom Plaza are better than some of the policies that our leaders come to the public with, driving in convoys. Like I told you, when we begin we have started the Open Forum podcast. We'll do an expose on that. So until citizens, including those ones we look down on at Ibom Plaza, at newspaper stands that didn't have work, and they were arguing with themselves. Sometimes they don't fight anyway. They are very civilized. They don't fight. There's never been fight, but they argue a lot. And politics and sports are what they are good at. I'm not good at sport at all. So, if artisans, if jobless people could think better than leaders, what stops these citizens? What stops these jobless persons who are victims of bad leadership, unproductive people that are appropriating billions just to keep themselves in public office at public expense on monthly basis? What stops them from saying, we are coming together, we have our platform, and then we'll be dissecting policies and making our views known, and we'll do it so consistently that anybody that says you're not aware, you'll be seen as a liar.
Okay, but citizen,
yes,
from what I just got from you is that you're not impressed with the 615,000 naira that was demanded by the NLC. That's one, as a living wage, and as you said earlier, living wage should not be a point of priority right now.
Yes,
it shouldn't be. So what should be there? So the focus should be on the minimum wage and not the living wage.
Yes and no. I've said clearly the living wage was a slip, a feudal slip by Mr. President, because he himself cannot. If he's asked to calculate a living wage, what will he come out with? Will you come out with 35% of 30,000? Will 35% take that to 100,000? Except somebody never passed maths in school. So 35%, we are just looking at maybe around a little above 10,000, 11,000 or so.
So what's ideal for you?
The ideal thing is that the government came out with what was called wage award, pending the minimum wage discussion law. And how much was federal government's wage award? Was it not 35,000?
Yeah.
So if that was award palliative, what should be the minimum wage?
35,000?
No, 35,000 was a palliative, the wage award, added to whatever, for instance, lowest earner collects. So somebody that collected 30,000 before now gets 35,000 to add. That makes it 65,000. As palliative, wait, hold on, take that whole body, maybe we come. Take that whole body. Now that you have come, you now remove the palliative, reduce what it doesn't make sense anyway. The minimum wage should possibly be in line with what a visionary leader, let me call him so. No matter what people feel about the man, I have some plus for him. Godwin Obaseki. Godwin Obaseki came up with 70,000 minimum wage, and people said it was political because he's going to election.
Yeah.
But he's not going to election. He did not do that because he's sure his candidate would fail. He's doing that because he wants his candidate to win, which means the candidate that he believes will win in his party must have agreed with him. We can pay this. You understand? I hope you get my point. Obaseki is not setting trap for a new administration. He is consolidating so that people can support the incoming person who say the candidate of his party, the PDP, because the man himself must have calculated and seen that it's possible to pay that. So that for me made sense in two ways. It shows that we are a federation. States used to argue with federal governments when minimum wages used to be done without wasting time. They will announce minimum wage 18,000. State will say, no, we cannot pay 18,000. 22,000. No, we cannot pay because we should be able to determine how much we want to pay. Here is the opportunity. Here is the opportunity. And how many states have said, we are determining our minimum wage because we are a federating unit. But when it comes to fighting corruption, a state governor will say, yes, don't come to my state because we are a federating unit. You don't have power to come and investigate corruption cases. We have not complained about that funds is missing, whereas trillions must have missed in the treasury. So it was a good thing. And for you not to destroy the economy, I tell you, we have to be very careful because there will be an increase that will be made. The private sector will collapse completely.
That's
Why?
another angle.
They will never be able to meet up, and we are buying from the same market.
Yes, the fact that a large percent of Nigerians are working in the private sector, and most of the employers of labor are in the private sector. How are they supposed to manage with the increase in the wages? Because it's the same market, as you said, that we're going to.
It was the reason that I prayed that the former president, the outgoing president, should never attempt it because the country will have completely collapsed. And under this administration, I guess Mr. President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu just discovered that after making that statement again, living wage. Now he has realized that a living wage will not be sustainable because our entire revenue, whatever we make, you know this already, 97% is used for debt servicing. We are printing money. The same thing Buhari and Emefiele were doing. We are taking loans. The subsidy that was to have been removed, even World Bank and some APC people, Ibom have said that they are paying subsidy. Even NNPC has proven that they are paying subsidy. Why? Because the last time they said, independent marketers, go and buy your fuel. It's a free market. Did not get up to 1 week. They reverted back to NNPC being the sole importer. That's because they are regulating, they are controlling, they are doing the manipulation. And with the same man who has that same consciousness that brought us here at the helm of affairs of NNPC. Because you cannot tell why Mr. President sees him as indispensable when the system, when the citizens are groaning daily. So we are in crisis. So the main issue, I have always said, is not even the wage increase. You can keep on giving the wage award and say, please, let us reposition the economy and be truthful.
That's another thing. Now,
be truthful.
People are saying that the labor is asking, and you insinuated such earlier, that the labor is asking for the wrong things.
Absolutely.
The main thing, the priority should not be on the minimum wage, because even if we're being paid 615,000 naira or 200,000 naira, whatever amount, with constant inflation, you'd have to continue reviewing the minimum wage.
Absolutely.
And then the problem has to be solved from the root. So what exactly should the labor be demanding for?
Labor are present everywhere. You know, private sector is part of labor. But when they plan, they don't carry the private sector along. But when they are doing the do march pass, those in the private sector, even the artisans, The organizer in front of your studio here, across the road, is a member of the Labour. I am. I've been joining Labour in Akwa Ibom State on protest several times. March everywhere, get to government house and they'll talk, we leave. Sometimes you go back home, you ask your wife or your son, please boil water, come and massage, because it was a long walk to freedom. And the next thing is, nothing happens. And I have been telling them, even my private conversation with some Labour leaders and on radio, that Labour should get consultants to think for them. They have lost it, particularly this very administration. Why? Because the last administration of Labour was non-existent. It was a bundle of, I don't know what adjective to use to qualify them. That was why they allowed Buhari to have his way and put everybody where some have never and may never be able to recover. Ajero came, controversies here and there, beating here and there, intimidation here and there, and now he has suspended. He's now going back to the Labour Party to go and see what position can be grabbed, how they can control the party, which is not his responsibility. Yeah, Labour Party is owned by Labour Congress, but you cannot run the party. Go and find out how it's run in Britain, where you have Labour Party. And the issue that, oh, Labour has a party, so Labour leader is partisan, is for the gullibles, for people who are mischievous. They even use that as a yardstick to measure when Labour leader speaks. But so far, he has refused to listen to people like us, because I speak on air, Labour people are listening, the media is listening, there are people that are monitoring stations, what people say, who says what, and they should be able to take action where necessary. Nobody has taken action by saying, Labour, get consultants. If a whole government can get consultants to say how to plant cassava, that we've been planting since I was born, plant tomatoes, or even bring industries, some which you can do, or even do road construction, or petty things, even plant flowers, grasses. So, what stops you from saying, please, get some thinkers? University, at least the ASU has been one outstanding union that I respect, but they have given up on speaking on national issues. Get discussants like us. We can do it free of charge for you. After I've been doing what I've been doing free of charge, because I believe in giving, and that's why God has kept me. And I even appear, some people say, you are better than people that are oppressing you. I say, I'm a miracle. So they need consultants to think for them. And what will be the key thing that I will say freely, I've been saying freely? There is so much looted funds in the hands of people that don't need that money, and they will never need it the rest of their lives. So recovery of looted funds and making corruption unattractive will be key to our recovery. And what do you think they will recover? Nigeria will recover trillions. I'm sure Nigeria will recover more than what we are even owing. In the oil sector, the last Naira change, I remember the day the former CBN governor announced, he said, they said, bring back the former currency that you changed, since there's no new currency that you printed. He said he has burnt them. I said, this man, let me not say what I added. He said he had burnt them. What? We have so much money. They knew. That was why they were telling us there's so much money in the economy. They have to withdraw it and control through the banks. You remember that? But there was no money in the economy. Why? They had pumped in or printed trillions, and they knew, so they knew how much was being stolen in the oil sector, which they were the ones controlling, and they needed to do something to turn everybody into destitute, and the whole country became an IDP camp. Thank God for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Mr. President. The man is now clinging to the biggest Bible I have seen while going to court. He may never know which the next book after Genesis, but he carries a very massive Bible to the court and to Black Maria and all of that. Deceit, there's too much deceit, and when these guys look at how much they have, they look at us as fools.
Okay, so
we need to be able to recover looted funds,
okay,
and plunge back this money into the economy. Some of them are in dollars, like Emefiele we've had the report, a single individual was given up to $3.4 billion at less than the official rate. That money is somewhere. That money, if recovered, Naira will strengthen and the refineries will work. Those that are using the refineries turnaround maintenance to be making their billions, just the monies they will live on till the rest of their lives, maybe the thing will not work. All this will stop. Our people are not productive. Our leaders are not productive. Even in this state, you keep recycling people that have plunged us into multi-dimensional poverty, the highest in Niger Delta. And they are still carrying themselves with pride. We're going to puncture that, all those balloons, we're going to just pin on the balloon. And before you know it, there's what I called free brain transplant. Until that comes, we'll be going around in circles because a typical person in government is after making his money, not because he loves the people. So we have to compel them through constructive engagement to love themselves and love the people. Fear the people and not the people fearing them, because that will become tyranny. Democracy will be when leaders respect citizens and do things rightly.
Okay, citizen.
Yes.
You have about a minute to just react to all those calls because we've run out of time.
Yeah, the calls, all the callers are absolutely on point. But I have an agenda which I will continue to push until God makes it to come to pass. That agenda is that Akwa Ibom State should be run as a country. That we can be a first world state in a third world country. Which also means that anybody that's a governor of Akwa Ibom State should be able to take decisions, not waiting for what the national will say, because we have been telling people data from national we don't accept, because that's what is applicable here. Figures for national investigation and corruption should not be part of us. We should build institutions and then open up governance to accept ideas. We had an administration that was allergic to ideas, but we are going to change that, which is what I said initially. Last year, I did a press conference that announced the pending hunger strike, and today, by the grace of God, we are commencing again with another press statement, which will tell the world that we are coming out with a new dimension where we're making contributions to leadership, governance, and being a voice of the voiceless, not just for this state, but for the country. We build the capacity of citizens. They will be able to recover from the days where leaders are seen as emperors and citizens as slaves. Citizens' power is resolved. Sovereignty resides with the people, and until we're able to correct that, they'll be giving you borrowed brain, which would never work. And I've said this before, let me just say this last one, please, that puppets don't have brains. So if you're a puppet at any level, whether you governor, president, or citizen, if you're a puppet, you don't have brain. You'll be rubbished by whoever is controlling you. We must control ourselves.